Subject this morning, how God made the universe. Well, that's some subject. How God made the universe. Seems to me they pick that type of subject every time I come up here. Well, I don't mind it as long as I can do something with it. So you all be with me now as we try to understand how God made the universe. Well, what do we start with? We start with one thing, according to the scriptures and the teachings of the great ones, including our beloved Master. We start with spirit. Spirit. Unmanifested spirit. That's the first thing that we have. All things have come from the one spirit, the great ocean of spirit, the ocean of bliss. And we have that spoken of in the Gita, in the 8th discourse, the 18th line. From the unmanifested, all the manifested stream forth at the coming of day. At the coming of night, they dissolve. Even in that, called the unmanifest. And so that's where we start. But when the Spirit began to get busy and do something, so to speak, create, began to move, then we have God the Father. God the Father is not Spirit. God the Father is author of creation. Spirit is unmanifested. No motion, just bliss of eternal Spirit. And so when the Spirit moved, we have God the Father, the author of creation, as the one eternal substance from which all things have come, is one consciousness, and the power of that consciousness. His consciousness is cosmic consciousness, and the power of that consciousness is cosmic energy. And so, that is what we have in the beginning. But still it is one eternal substance, although it seems two. As the Master used to explain, the fire and the burning power. Can you separate them? No. And so God's omniscience, His great intelligence, if we can call it that, divine intelligence, and the power of that intelligence are the same. Just like in your own consciousness, you have within you cosmic consciousness. But it doesn't seem that, does it? Because it's attached to the shadow of this body. We have God's consciousness within us. And now when you look within, for instance, and you dream, you produce a world there and characters and all sorts of things. From what? From your one consciousness. And the dream which seems so real when you become attached to it, like a nightmare, when it resolves, what do you have? Your one consciousness. And so with God, as He made this universe, He made it that way. He dreamed it by the projection of the only essential element from which all things have come, light. Just like in your dream, you project that light through the films of the subconsciousness and you'll produce the dream. So God has projected the one great light from the booth of eternity through the lens as a cosmic beam, and that striking the space, screen of space, produces the light and shadow of creation. Universe upon universe. Now, in Genesis, the first chapter, we read the first two verses as follows. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth was without form and void. Now let us stop there. Therefore, God must have created things first in idea. He created things in idea first, because it says they were without form and void. As the Master said, God created the finer forces of heaven first. The the electrical and thermal, electronic laws, he created those first from his great cosmic energy. Of course, behind that was his divine intelligence. So God created those things first. Then he created matter. That is, the mental element, in idea only, through the law of relativity of thought. And so we have the finer forces of heaven first, from God's great cosmic energy, plus matter, made up of the mentally created elements, 90 odd, which you know. Everything God produced, imagine, first, in his great omniscience. He produced that first. And so we have, from that great creation of mental ideas, we have the causal universe. From these many ideas has been projected the physical universe. But first remember, God created these things in ideas. He created the laws governing creation in a mental way, the electronic and thermal laws. And then he made the elements of matter, mentally created elements, the Master calls them. He made those first, the 90-odd elements which we see in physical creation. Then what happened? We have reached so far. Then we go on and we read, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water. That means that the Spirit vibrated these mentally created elements into waves of countless ideas. And everything that was created in God's great consciousness as countless ideas has been and can be projected and is being projected as the physical universe. So you see, this causal universe, as it is called, the causal universe is very important because everything is there. The light which he created next projects those waves of countless ideas of the causal universe. That's the key to realizing how God created the universe. Remember your dream. In your dream, you create all these things first. In idea, you may not be conscious of it, but the subconsciousness is doing it. Then you project it through the beam of light, and you see it on the screen of your consciousness. Is that clear? So God created the universe the same way. Remember first, he made it in idea. He created the causal universe first, made up of waves of multitudinous ideas. You cannot fathom it. He created these first. Then he projected it by the great cosmic beam of light into the physical universe. So far we have reached the point of the causal universe. You cannot do a thing. You cannot come to church here until you first form it in idea. Then you come. And so when God made the universe, he first formed it in idea, producing from the mentally created elements the causal universe. Waves of unlimited ideas. You look at the flowers. There are only a few. But there are many, many, many forms of flowers. And look in the sea and see the forms of life. And look under the microscope and see what's going on. You understand the immensity of God's causal creation. Everything created in his great cosmic consciousness first. And then through the power of the cosmic energy, he made the next thing spoken of in Genesis, where we read, and God said, let there be light. Let there be light. And there was light. Now therein, in that great light, which is the holy vibration, from that one light, the cosmic flame is projected universe upon universe. Just as in the moving picture. We see the beam come down. And when it strikes the screen, then the characters of light and shadow come. But as you look up and see the beam coming down, it's hard to realize that in that beam will be produced all things that appear on the screen from that beam. So, same with the creation of the universe. From the cosmic light gathered together in the booth of eternity, projected through a lens, striking the screen of space, comes all creation. And so remember, light is a very important part of our discussion this morning. The matrix of creation is light. Light is the essence of all creation. Light is the essence of the atoms even. And it has been shown, as I will shortly point out, that all things, including the heavy metals, are made up of vibrating light atoms. It doesn't seem possible, does it? As I pick up this book, so solid and nice, vibrating light atoms. And when you pick up a piece of metal, vibrating light atoms. So remember, this is a very important part of creation, to understand the great cosmic light. And you can understand it somewhat through science. You can understand it fully by being one with it. And you cannot understand it fully until you merge in it. Become one with that cosmic light. That light is in you. It is in me. It is vibrating there. The shadow of it is what feels so good. Shadow of that one light of God. It doesn't seem possible, but God is tremendous. He can do so many things. And so remember, God created all things from the light. And light is the essence of the atoms of the astral universe. All the heavy metals are in the astral light vibrating. Now that is produced through electronic law, electromagnetic law. That light is projected, frozen, as the Master used to say, into the physical universe. Creation. So there you have in a few words how it's done. Now if you want to know more about it, you have to be one with it. One with God, and as He does it, you being one with Him will do it likewise. These are eternal truths. They seem far-fetched. They are not. And those who meditate will see and know that one eternal flame, the cosmic light from which all things have come. Now going on, just to give you one or two instances of proof of these things, I have said that all things come from the light. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. His great consciousness, plus the power of it, the cosmic energy, produced this, I was going to say, peculiar thing called light. Einstein has given you a formula. You can consult that and know all about it, perhaps. But anyway, it's the only constant thing in the universe is light. And it is the essence of all atoms. Now, the electron microscope has definitely shown that, as I have said, light is the essence of all atoms. And by the aid of that electron microscope, they have shown that the tungsten atoms can be seen and vibrating light. Isn't that the most wonderful thing? How God did the thing, I don't know. Nobody knows till you become one with Him. So the electron microscope has shown that all matter is vibrating light atoms, even the heavy metals. Now, going on, science has shown the same thing. Science has shown that all matter is vibrating light in this way. Science has found out by their experiments that matter resolves into energy, and energy into light. They have shown it definitely. You take the hydrogen atom, made up of one proton and one electron. When you annihilate it, what do you have? One photon, but the mass of the proton and the electron equals the photon. Nothing is lost. And that hydrogen atom is light. And now I understand, just recently a gentleman from Harvard has succeeded in taking those photons, the elements of light, 3 electrons, and he has built it up, synthesized into first the gamma rays of energy, finally the positrons are matter. And so there you have definite proof that matter is vibrating light. And so if matter is vibrating light, what are we? We're material. This body is material. It's vibrating light, the light of God. Now, when you merge in that life force within you as vibrating light, and let it expand into the eternal flame, then you will know that God is all, and He is the doer of all things. And so, going on, the modus operandi of creation is, from this light, divine intelligence has created this universe in the following way. Light has been built up through this medium of protons, electrons, atoms, molecules, cells, tissue, and so forth. That's the way it goes. But how it goes is God's secret. But those are the steps taken from light. They're built up by these little stones, so to speak, of the protons, electrons, producing the atoms. I told you tungsten is vibrating light atoms. Then those are gathered together in molecules, finally into cells, finally into the different organs of the body, and we have an entity known as the human body. Now in creation it's the same thing. The mountains, the rivers, and the lakes, and the automobiles, clothes, and everything. One who is one with God, the yogi, sees all that as vibrating. Think straight. Meditate deeply, and as you rise above the laws of material creation, you will see the vibrating light all around you. That's what can come if you follow the techniques of self-realization and follow the channel God has sent. Not fool around with other things, but follow Him 100%. You will feel and know these eternal truths. Now going on just a little bit. So, we must remember that light is the creation, the key to the creation of all. As I have said, light is the only constant in the universe, and that all the atoms are made of vibrating light. Now, I would like just at this time to read just from the Master's autobiography on page 281. I have it written down, but those of you who have the book should read it, and those of you who do not have the book should get it, because everything is in it. Everything. I could go on talking for hours if I had the ability about the book, because everything is there. Now, we read as follows on page 281. Listen carefully. Many modern discoveries help men to understand the cosmos as a varied expression of the one power, cosmic energy, light, guided by the divine intelligence. I told you science has shown that. Many scientists speak that way now. They know, as one said, it seems as if the universe is one great big thought of God. That's right. That's what it is. But when the beam shines and you get the light and shadow, then we become confused. And so we read in the autobiography, page 281, read it. Now going on, page 279. Those who can perceive this one light, realize the universe as essentially undifferentiated mass of light. Now you can prove these things if you will follow the techniques, with devotion to God, and meditate deeply. You will see beyond this shadow which you are looking at, the vibrating light. And the shadow itself is vibrating light. Just as it says, those who can perceive this one light will realize the universe as an essentially undifferentiated mass of light. I told you light is the key to the whole thing. And the meditations of self-realization will take you to that light as the Holy Ghost within you, vibrating with the power of God. Now, let me give you a practical illustration of these two things of which I have spoken. The motion picture. The Master said, remember the illustration of the motion picture. Because it's an everyday thing. It's common to all of us, but we do not utilize it for the highest purpose of knowing God. We have in the motion picture, we have the booth. And in that booth, we have the film plus the energy, the power. Now that power passes through a lens and produces a beam of light, does it? And that beam of light, carrying all those multitudinous images, strikes the screen and we see the picture. Now if we become attached to the light and shadow, we feel for the hero and we hate the villain. And the first thing, we're one with the picture, are we not? Sometimes the ladies cry and feel bad. Why? Because they're attached to the picture. And so it is with the cosmic dream. And this is important. The cosmic creation is just the same as the Master said. There is the booth of eternity. And in that booth of eternity is his cosmic energy. Remember that. And that energy passing through the lens creates the cosmic beam. And that cosmic beam strikes the screen space, producing the light and shadow of creation. Now that is the cause of creation. That is how God has made things. He had it first in his own great intelligence, in ideas. Then he produced this mysterious thing called light, which is his own consciousness vibrating. And then he projected it on the screen of space, producing universe upon universe. And if you will remember these two things, these two illustrations of the motion picture and the cosmic motion picture, they are the same. Hindu philosophy speaks of it this way. The great Larry Marsha calls that great beam of light the Kutesta, which is seen at this point. The single eye of God, the single power of God. At this point, if you meditate and concentrate, you will see that single cosmic light there. And the other aspect of God is his omniscience, his all-pervading omniscience, which we feel is all-pervading love. That's the one thing from which all things have come. Kutesta, at the third eye, the light at the third eye, plus God's all-pervading love. So you see, in Hindu philosophy we had the same thing. Cosmic consciousness as Vishnu, and the power of that cosmic consciousness, the cosmic energy, as the Kutesta. Now I spoke a moment ago about the cosmic beam coming from the booth of eternity, passing through a lens, producing the great cosmic beam which has produced universe upon universe. In 1947 or 48, I've forgotten just which year, the Master had a wonderful ecstasy at Mount Washington, and I was privileged to be there with others. And in that ecstasy, Divine Mother, the great cosmic light, intelligence of God in that light, took over his body and spoke through his voice. It was the strangest thing to hear his voice change into that of Divine Mother and then change back to his voice. And he said at that time, he said, this is the only time this has happened in this age, where Divine Mother takes the human voice and speaks through it. And in that, during that ecstasy, among other things, they traveled far and near. And then one time the Master said, he says, I see the disc, the little disc whereby the cosmic beam is projected. So you see the illustration of the motion picture. Very fit. Because there you have the Master's word, that there is a cosmic disc, a cosmic lens, which projects the great cosmic light and produces the creation by the making of light. Isn't that wonderful? That's something to think about. Something to realize. That same consciousness of God the Father, cosmic consciousness, is that consciousness in you and me which you are seeing me with, in which you are understanding and comprehending, that's cosmic consciousness in you. What's the matter? We're separated from it. We're separated from it. We cannot feel it. We cannot feel its all-expansive nature. And that cosmic power of God, the great beam of light, that same light is in you. It says in the Scriptures, ye are children of light. What's the matter? We haven't become one with that light. We're taken up with, attached to the light and shadow of creation. But we can. We can, by following the right technique, get beyond the light and shadow of this body and this creation and merge in the one great light of God. Greater than that, greater than merging in His power and energy, is to merge in His omniscience, His consciousness as love. That's what the Master has done for all of us. And that's why I personally, and I know you all feel, such a love for Him, because He has shown us the way from slavery of attachment to matter to freedom, being one with God. Master, that's why He's so great. And that's why we cannot afford but to be 100% loyal to God through the channel He has sent, the channel of the beloved Master. And so in conclusion, I want to use the authority of the Master's word as I close this subject, and we turn to page 281 in his autobiography. And here is the final authority on how God created the universe. The cosmic director has written his own play and assembled a tremendous cast for the pageant of the century. Imagine the intelligence of the Master of the universe to produce this great play in idea and then project it as we see a little portion of it. And so the Master has said, he has assembled the tremendous cast for the pageant of centuries from the dark booth of eternity. Dark booth of eternity. Just like the booth of the motion picture house. From the dark booth of eternity, the Master says, he pours his creative beam through the films of successive ages. And the pictures are thrown on the screen of space. Just as a motion picture image appears to be real, but are only combinations of light and shadow. You can see that in the motion picture. Just as that is so, so is the universal variety a delusive seeming. Imagine this world which seems so real, and I look at you and you look at me. Light and shadow. But behind it is the intelligence of God and His great light. Now going on, the planetary spheres with their countless forms of life are not but figures in a cosmic motion picture, temporarily true to the five sense perception. That's what enslaves us, especially touch. When I feel and touch this book, when you shake my hand and we touch things, it gives it an attachment it's hard to break. That's what produces the trouble. So the Master has said just that. Temporarily true to the five sense perceptions, as the scenes are cast on the screen of man's consciousness by the infinite creative being. So there you have how God created the universe. Expand your consciousness into the one cosmic consciousness of God. It is that consciousness that's in you, in me. That's how we know things. We must expand our consciousness into that one intelligence of God. And then we must expand the light within us, the cosmic energy of God within us. We must expand that first into the spiritual body known as John, of which I spoke of in the Bible reading. Radha, you can see it without too much difficulty if you look here. And if you merge in the light at that point, it will expand so you see it throughout your body with the different parts of the spiritual body. Then, if you merge in God, with full surrender, 100%, without any mental reservations, there cannot be any duality of consciousness. If you merge in God that way, expand your light into the one eternal flame of God, then you become one with Him. And as God is doing all things, so you, realizing you are one with Him, will do all things. If you want to really know how God created the universe, know Him as the one cosmic consciousness plus the power of that cosmic consciousness, cosmic energy. Then you will realize, Jesus, seek first the kingdom of heaven. Seek first oneness with cosmic energy. And God's great intelligence is omniscience, cosmic consciousness. And all things will be added to you.